Tron Ares. Yes, folks, that's right. We are finally having the Tronversation. We are making more Trontent. It's the third annual Tron movie. In 20 years, we'll probably get a fourth one. There's no way we're getting a follow up because this is tanking pretty hard. Not like super hard where it's like bad. I don't know. Maybe it's enough to justify a fourth one, but I doubt it. Nonetheless, let's talk about Tron Ares. This is the follow-up to Tron Legacy, a movie that came out in 2010, numerous administrations ago, and it's been long developed or whatever. Jared Leto's been attached to it forever. It's finally here, and we have to talk about it. So, I do want to say a couple things. This is going to be a little bit more long-winded because this is a IP that I genuinely care about. I think this franchise, it is one now because it's 3 movies, is really important to me. I like the first 2 movies a lot. I've talked about them on this channel. I really dig them. I think the first movie is just the spectacular marvel of color and ideas put on screen, and a perfect time capsule of how we'd never make a movie again. It's like a one and done thing. There's no world where anybody would ever attempt to make a movie look like or feel like the first Tron movie ever. And then 20-something years later, they try Tron Legacy, which kind of kickstarts this Legacy sequel idea, which are hitting the same beats of the first movie, updating the technology, but the same actors come back. It's essentially the same story, but just done better. And that movie is breathtaking and looks so vibrant. I cite a lot of the person I am today with the stuff that's surrounding me in this video with my love for Tron Legacy, because when I saw that in theaters, it just really awoke something in me like, oh, this is how movies can look and we can talk about stuff in this way. So this franchise, those first 2 movies, they have a special place in my heart. They kind of kickstart my love for pop culture and these like not obscure IPs, but the stuff that's not mainstream. Like, you're not going to go to a Halloween store and see Tron stuff. You're going to see things like Beetlejuice and Back to the Future and Scooby-Doo all the time, but you're not going to see Tron. So it's sort of an obscurity. The parks don't really talk about them. Larger Disney doesn't really talk about them. But in an era where their other boy franchises are tanking, Disney thinks they can restart Tron again. Which is kind of what happened in the first place. When Tron Legacy came out, it was them redoing an IP that they owned, hoping to get the young male audience. Didn't really work, so they said, screw it, let's just buy Star Wars and Marvel. Which happens after Tron fails, after John Carter fails. They go, let's just do this. So that's where we are. The Marvel stuff is okay. Star Wars is in a bad place. And the only thing they really have for boys right now that they like is Lilo and Stitch. Like, Disney's in such a bad position right now for these kind of things. So, in a state of arrest, why not try doing Tron again? Because what do you got to lose? Everyone's time and money, probably. So, Tron Ares, it's here. It's out in theaters now at the time of this going live. And as somebody who is not a diehard Tron fan, but probably likes Tron more than a lot of people in the world, I gotta be honest when I say I think this is a very poorly made movie. And I don't even think it's poorly made in terms of a Tron movie. It is definitely like the worst Tron movie. But in terms of modern Disney stuff, it just gets so bogged down by the stuff we have to do today in terms of our storytelling and our effects and the types of narratives we lead. It is such a bland piece of IP just being destroyed for no reason other than we don't have faith to make this look interesting. And I completely understand being hesitant to make a Tron movie. These don't really stick with the public. This isn't like Avatar, where you can take a 12-year break and people go, I still want to see that though. It's been 15 years. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They might see it because they know the name and they can be like, oh, Jeff Bridges. But nobody cares. I would be just as happy if we never made another Tron movie. But we have to, because that's the world we live in. everything eventually comes back around to the 80s, which is just kind of the metaphor of this movie, which is the 80s are the best, which I'm like, shut up for a minute. There's a lot I want to talk about with this movie. I want to start with the obvious because I need to get this out of the way before we go any further. Every single moment of promotion or lead up to this film has been very poorly handled because at the center of this thing is Jared Leto. And Jared Leto sucks. He is a bad person and a bad actor. And I'm positive somewhere deep in the orifices of Hollywood, he's got some blackmail on some people that keep giving him these chances. He was a bad Joker. He was a bad Morbius. He ruined Tron. And next he's doing Skeletor. So what is he doing where he's getting these parts? Where he can just be himself, this very stiff, ugly, broken actor who can't emote or be interesting. And he just destroys a franchise because of it. I don't understand that. How does he keep getting these parts? It's a little less annoying in Tron because he's playing an artificial intelligence who needs to learn to emote. But I don't think there's a single audience member in the world who wants to spend 2 hours watching Jared Leto learn to be human. Because he's subhuman and nobody likes him. Nobody's going to a movie for Jared Leto. They just aren't. That has never been the case. They'll go to make fun of him. If anything, they will go to make fun of him. But nobody needs to see him as the center of their movie. And he is so annoying in this part. Because he clearly cares the most about everyone, which may be the biggest problem of this movie. It only gets made because Jared Leto is producing it and he wants to do this role, which is about, hey, maybe I'm not such a bad guy after all. Maybe the things people think about me aren't true and I can actually learn empathy and to care about people. There's a literal scene where he's looking at a woman being nice to him and it says on screen, empathy recognized. And I'm like, you didn't learn that lesson, Jared Leto. You're still an egotistical loser that nobody wants to see on screen. But he's going to be Skeletor. So I just want to get that out of the way. Jared Leto is in this movie. He is, unfortunately, the best actor in the movie because nobody else seems like they want to be here fully. Greta Lee plays our other lead. She is the new person in charge of MCOM. And I feel so bad for her. If this is your first exposure to Greta Lee, which it might be for a lot of people because I don't think Past Lives is as huge of a hit as Tron is going to be. I feel really bad for you because you're missing out on someone who's like a genuine talent who is really good at stuff. This is the worst performance I've seen her in, and it feels like that career move of you're getting the critical acclaim and awards recognition for starring in Past Lives. Just get one of your franchise movies out of the way so you can get back to making the stuff that matters, this time with a higher pay cut. That's what this feels like. This feels like Greta Lee said, I'll sign on this. I will sleepwalk through every scene, and that's okay. She shows no emotion. Her character arc is very flat, which is more the writing than it is her. But she doesn't feel interested in doing this. It feels very bland. Her cadre of people that show up around her too, just like minuscule comedians that you've probably heard of to be supporting characters that don't do anything. I'm just like, this is too many. The first two Tron films have like 3 central characters. You have Flynn, you have Tron, and then you have a girl. And that's it. In Legacy, it's Flynn, and a girl. And then a villain. This one, you have Ares, who's Jared Leto. You have Eve, who's Greta Lee. You have her 3 nincompoops that work with her. You have Athena, who works with Ares. And then you have Evan Peters and Gillian Anderson as the modern-day Dillingers. And I'm pretty sure I'm missing other people. There's just too many cast members that don't have any impact on this story. So Evan Peters is playing Julian Dillinger. He is the grandson of the old school Dillinger, David Warner, from the first movie. He's got his own company going up now. It's Dillinger Systems. They're competing against MCOM to like take over the AI space. And he is, I know what he's doing, but there is no emotional depth or feeling given to anything that he's about. It's be loud, scream at a monitor, and have no connection to the world around you. Just as soon as he comes on screen and you're like, oh, he owns the company that has the red colors as their logo, that's the bad guy. Obviously, that's the bad guy. There's no nuance to try to make it that way, which I guess is fine because this is technically a movie made for kids, but it's technically not because nothing about this movie is going to speak to a child. It's about two rival companies being the first to make AI viable by 3D printing sustainable resources. The evil company wants to make military machines. The good company wants to make, like, crops and stuff. And I'm like, okay, very, very obvious. So they have to find it's a specific code that they can, like, implore that makes things last forever. Which I'm like, that's great. You know what I love about my Tron movie is finding, like, a source code that makes something live forever in the real world. One of the special things about both of those previous movies is how intense it feels to go from the digital world and the grid to the real world, whether it's vice versa. When Flynn originally goes in, when Flynn's son goes in, and Olivia Wilde's Cora comes out in the next one, it feels like it matters, and it's like a big deal. But I guess this also speaks to, like, the way that modern technology has evolved, where these things don't feel like they matter anymore. So people can just go back and forth whenever they want, and we'll just 3D print a body for you and whatever. It really kills the stakes when at any moment your character can die and then they can just, like, come back in the digital world. It doesn't feel effective. But then if you give them, like, this very powerful, like, eternal code or whatever it's called, the permanence code, I think is what it's called, then they live forever in the real world. It's so lazily constructed and way too plotty for no apparent reason, and doesn't really add anything to anything. I just feel so annoyed. Like, really? All this is about stealing a code from this person? And this goes into the other thing that I think about Tron. There's so much stuff I want to say about this movie. I'm so sorry. If you can't do the simple thing of making the Tron stuff, and I know that's not an actual, like, world. Tron's a guy who's not in this movie, by the way. If you can't make the actual, like, Tron stuff look good, you have easily failed. You have just fallen flat on your head. All, like, the plotty outside of the grid stuff, I don't care. Like, that's always going to be annoying. You know, Garrett Hedlund parachute off the side of a building to get on his motorbike to live in the docks. And then Bruce Boxleitner shows up and is like, can you just stop being annoying? Like, that's plotty too. But this fails to have anything feel like it looks good. You know? It has the modern glossiness of every single Disney product where it can be easily compressed to watch on your phone. Lighting is so bad. One of the key fundamental elements of Tron, those first two movies, is the lighting. The first film is all about the darks and the blacks and keeping everything just, like, perfectly lit in that monochrome color. When we go to the grid in Tron Legacy, everything is matted and muted and feels very, like, powerful. You're looking at these very specific colors in play. But this movie, it fails on both of those fronts. The outside and the real world stuff is so obviously shot on a soundstage for a lot of it. It's unbelievable how annoying that looks. Can we just not film in a real warehouse? Is that something we're incapable of doing now? It's so bad. It looks so flat and terrible. And then sometimes when we're in the real world, it looks okay. But then the stuff on the grid too, it's really distinctive lighting that doesn't really work. Again, the lighting is such an issue in this movie, which this is the one franchise I think is so important to have it lit perfectly and look really good. The effects are abysmal a lot of the time. Now, that's not to say there's not some good stuff. There is a couple good stuff. I do like the effect where Ares and Eve are going down that digital river on the weird raft thing. That looks pretty good. There's a couple of stuff in the real world that looks interesting. But I think for the most part, this movie really doesn't nail making the Tron stuff look good. We do have light cycles in here. And there's one good, like, motorcycle chase on the light cycles. It looks pretty good. But I think what it really fails at is having any of the real weight behind it. Like, this is one of the key fundamental things of Tron. And you just made it this very bare bones, this is just our motorcycle. It doesn't have, like, the weight of, like, getting hit by this thing can hurt you and is very terrifying. It's going to kill you. Taking the grid stuff to the real world is such a lame problem, which is exactly, like, what modern AI is doing. What if we just had these things in the real world that like affected the way we live, but we're not actually trying to benefit anybody or help anybody? It's just about creative bankruptcy and destroying like architecture and art as like this viable source. That's modern AI. That's kind of what this movie's about too. And I'm like, I don't need this lesson from the billion-dollar corporation, because I don't think you're learning your lesson. I don't think you making Dillinger the bad guy who just wants to make AI this destructive tool is you siding with him or siding against him. I think it's just you saying that's just it. We're probably like Dillinger. It's so weird. And the first two Tron movies, and I always hate to bring up, I hate to bring it up. I really do hate to say in comparison to the first two Tron movies, but one of the fundamental things about Tron, the franchise, is how it is a video game. In the first movie, it is about Flynn figuring out if somebody stole his idea for a video game. In Tron Legacy, there are so many sequences where our characters are in a tournament style event, whether it's on a light cycle or it's doing like the disc throwing game. That is a key element to Tron. Is this being a game? Is this being like a video game? This movie references video games, kind of, but aside from showing us things in the video game, like the ships and the cycles, it has nothing else to do with the video game idea. And if this is the era we're in, where Disney is desperate for its IP and they're just like, we want to get young boys back into theaters, maybe take your original IP that is based on a video game and has ideas steeped in video game culture and make a modern movie about this being a video game. We could easily do something where it's like leveling up in the grid if you want. And I know that's not the movie that was made, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But Ares is like the top guy you have to fight. You know, you could easily like have that stuff like appear, and that's the lesson that we need to learn. That kind of thing. You could easily do that. Just have video game elements. Instead, we got people with big guns that can bring things to this world or take them to the next world. So there's two more things within like the aesthetic I really want to talk about. And these are two things that are very important to why I don't like this direction for Tron. The first one is there's just too many black mirrors, and it's just too many like digital keyboards that appear on a screen, and then people just like using their like AI helmets to like zoom in on a face and get every single information about a person. It is so lazily contrived and doesn't have anything special to say. It is just so lazy. It's like we can just zoom in on this face that's going this way and get all the information on this person. No one has to learn anything. I know that's modern code, but it sucks, and it's not visually pleasing on screen to see that kind of stuff. It just falls so flat when everyone's just staring at a screen and can learn everything about where somebody is located and what they're doing and figure out the memories from their brain. It's just so lazy and doesn't make for anything visually interesting. There needs to be a little bit of analog technology to Tron because it is retro. And that leads me to my next point. There is an entire sequence in this movie where Ares goes to the original grid from the first movie. And inside that grid, we literally just redo the effects from the first Tron movie, but with modern technology. And the amazing thing about this is, and this was like my first thought when it happened, I was like, you shouldn't be doing this because you're reminding me of a better movie, but also, it's crazy to me that these junky, cheap effects from the 1980s, where everything is just like these strip lightings on clothes and monochrome colors, looks better than the stuff you're showing me in the 2025 scenes. That should not be the case. But somehow we have reached the point where the retro, futuristic, nostalgia-baity 80s sequence of this movie looks more timeless than the stuff in the present day and is going to hold up better in retrospect. How did we get to that point? That whole sequence is stupid and useless, and you could easily cut it out of the movie. It's Jared Leto meeting Jeff Bridges, who is like, far out, man. You came all this way down here just to like learn a lesson. Here's the code you need. It's bad. It's clunky, but it is so beautiful and really shows you like, oh, so the original Tron's going to be more interesting in retrospect than this one. Okay, glad that happened. I loved the sequence of Jeff Bridges because he just goes on screen and just goes, this is what acting is, man. You gotta like be me, and I'm Tron stuff. He just he's on screen for like 3 minutes, and it's just so much more interesting than Jared Leto in every conceivable way. It's unbelievable how that happened, man. I I can't believe how bad this looks. That is the one thing you needed to get right, is have the Tron stuff look good. The light cycles needed to be cool, the disc throwing needed to be cool, and the effects needed to be cool. It did none of those things. The action sequences are very poorly framed, but when you get your journeyman director who made the worst movies in Pirates of the Caribbean and Maleficent to make your Tron movie, I'm not expecting something that's well executed. When all your actors seem bored out of their mind, I'm not expecting something that's well executed either. Everything is just going wrong with this movie, and it just looks so flat. Like, why do we film stuff so bad today? What is happening? 15 years ago, Joseph Kosinski made Tron Legacy, and it really felt like time and dedication was put into it. But in today's climate, everything is just fixed in post as opposed to making stuff look good in the moment. And I think that is just so telling in this movie about two rival CEOs trying to find AI matter and stuff, and trying to make me sympathize with like a AI guy who's played by Jared Leto is just a very problematic thing to do to begin with. But the way this movie goes about it, with very lazy dialogue, it is very much that classic thing of we have to explain every sequence because people might be on their phones not paying attention. And just really lazy, like, camera. I hate so much just like the surveillance footage stuff of your AI having like everything pop up on screen and being able to see all like the world and figure everything out around them. It's so lazy and looks bad. Doesn't feel like Tron. We need more analog stuff. I don't need big flying mechs everywhere and people in these dumb suits. And, I will say, I guess Jodie Turner-Smith is doing something. She's got a distinct personality, and it's interesting to see that. Cameron Monaghan shows up for a second, obviously to tease up a sequel. They do tease up a sequel. We're never going to get it. Why would we ever get a sequel to this movie with these characters nobody likes? There's one more thing we have to touch on, which is something that's become pretty fundamental to the world of Tron, and that is the score/soundtrack. In the previous movie, it was Daft Punk, which is one of like the most electrifying and riveting scores ever. In this movie, we have original music for the first time in a very long time from Nine Inch Nails. It is not just Trent Reznor, it is all of Nine Inch Nails doing the score and the original music for this movie. And it bumps it up a star, maybe, just how good that score is. He gets it, man. Nine Inch Nails is a really good band. They make really interesting, like, intense, pulsating music. And every time I hear the score in this film, that's just so perfectly timed to sequences happening in the film, you're just like, holy, you don't deserve this piece of shit movie. You deserve a better movie. It's a really good score. It is intense, and it is loud, and it's in your face. It is just all over the place and loud, and you can feel the theater shaking when it's just going to those noises. It is so good, and it's Nine Inch Nails, and I love them. It's just one of those clear examples of, like, this music doesn't match what I'm seeing on screen. Nine Inch Nails does not really fit the aesthetic of a Disney world. Daft Punk kind of does because they're a little more commercial, but Nine Inch Nails hates you and hates the world. And when I'm looking at glossy Disney characters with really bad dialogue and suddenly I'm listening to some really good Trent Reznor stuff, it just doesn't match. It doesn't work. Unbelievable how it just feels like a complete tonal shift from what you're seeing. I love the music. I don't like anything else I'm seeing on screen or hearing. It fails. And I think for some casual people, it could be fine, because not everybody is going to like pay attention to these really clunky dialogue scenes or really give a shit about like how these effects don't look as good as they did 15 years ago. Some people don't care about that. They just want to be entertained. But when none of your actors feel interesting and the only one that is like trying is your alleged then it really falls flat, man. It really falls flat. And I care more than other people because I am a big fan of Tron. Off the side here, I got a bunch of Tron stuff. I love Tron. I think it's such a fun concept. One of the few arcade remnants I still like to see people talk about. It's just like, that's the retro stuff I like. It's the bright lights and monochrome stuff of Tron. And this movie can't capture any of that and wants it to feel like this stuff matters. Well, it doesn't. You teasing Sark at the end of your movie means nothing to anybody because nobody knows what that means. Because any children watching this aren't going to sit through your original film from 82 because that is an intense slog. You're not winning anybody over with any of the actions that are taken. I also forgot to mention, like, Eve's story is so sad, like, her sister dies, so she wants to finish her work. So all the emotional resonance of, like, that dialogue is just like, we did it, sis. This one's for you. The most obvious stuff you could do in that aspect. But hey, if you want to see a movie where Jared Leto gets to win and be a good guy and saves all the ladies, this is the movie for you. We went way longer than I thought we would, but I still have so many more thoughts and feelings about this movie. I guess that's what it's like to have something you care about, you know? There are a few franchises or IPs where I have like a genuine stake in the development. I love Star Wars and I love Marvel, DC stuff, and I love Ninja Turtles. But there's so much of that where I'm like, I know it's not all going to be good. And it's so popular that people are going to be okay with whatever interpretation they get. But there are a few things. I think Tron is one of them. Barbarella is another one for me. Elvira is another one for me. And maybe Star Trek, where it's things where I care so deeply about what's being done here that to see it bastardized in any capacity really upsets me, or just like missing the whole point. And I think this movie misses the point. This isn't what young boys want to see if you're trying to capture that market. They want to see cool people fighting each other, turning into like de-resolutioned like pics and just like cubes and stuff, and just really cool like fun action and good music. But you can't even make any of that look good except for the music sounding good. So you failed. You really failed. Some people like it. I don't care if you like it or not, but this is the worst thing Tron has produced ever, and they made some really interesting comics and TV shows. This is the worst thing to come out of Tron. And the character of Tron, not even mentioned in this movie, except for maybe a poster. Bruce Boxleitner's not even in this either. What are we doing? So, Tron Ares. I am going to give a 4 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.